Hello and welcome back for another video. Today I'm going to show you how to make a top using partial knitting. This top that I'm going to show you today is just the top part of this dress. I uploaded a video kind of showing how I got to making this dress. It's not really a step-by-step tutorial where I show how I made it, but more the process of getting to make this dress. So today I'm going to show you step-by-step, and I will try to give you as much information as possible so you can hopefully make one yourself. I'm going to also make sure to write all the instructions or all the information and all the numbers, rows, stitches, everything into a document, and I'm going to upload that on my Patreon where you can download it for free, don't worry. And hopefully that will give you enough information to make one for yourself. I have here all the instructions that I wrote down when I made the dress, and I'm going to use the same numbers to make just a test top first. So I'm going to see how I can make this as quick as possible for you to also knit it. Because this is quite a it's quite tricky to know exactly how to calculate when you are knitting short rows, or at least I'm struggling to kind of figure that out and just wrap my brain around it. What I find the easiest is to actually just knit a section and then work with that, see if I can add any more rows or take, and just see how it fits, if that makes sense. And I'm going to show you exactly how to knit it, and hopefully you can knit the same panel as me using your yarn. Hopefully you will have that to kind of work with and then calculate so that your top will fit you perfectly. So let's get to knitting already. I'm going to use this blue yarn to make this top. This is also a cotton. It's just a little bit thicker than this yarn here. So I'm just going to first knit a tension swatch just to see how that looks, and then I will take it from there. I'm going to cast on 150 stitches. I will begin straight away having 2 needles in work, 2 out of work across, and you'll see later what I decided to do for the edge to not curl as much. I'm using tension 1, and I will begin 10 rows to begin with. I'm just removing the comb and weights as I will already begin shaping this bottom edge, so I'll be putting needles in holding position. I'll be using the claw weights straight onto the fabric. We will shape this so that the edges are shorter, so it grows like that. I will begin by putting in holding position the 2 needles at the very edge on the left side. Also, I'm making sure to set my carriage to hold, and I will knit 1 row. So here it's very important to have enough weight, otherwise the stitches will tuck, which is happening to me right now. I can see that loads of my stitches are tucking. Perhaps the tension that I'm using is a little bit too tight, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to increase my tension from 1 to 2. The reason why I'm leaving this in is so you can see that sometimes you have to adjust and change what you're doing as you're doing it. Sometimes there will be a difference between knitting a very small swatch and knitting a larger swatch on the machine. I didn't have any issues when I knitted a very small swatch, but now I can see that something is not working properly. That's why it's very important to test as much as we can before we jump into a final project. All right, I'll continue by putting needles on hold on the right side as well. And in total, I want to knit 4 rows before putting more needles. So I knitted 1, and I'm going to go again, 2, 3, 4. 2. There's a few needles that are still tucking, but I think from the next row should be fine. Okay, I'm going to start all over. Hold on a second. Okay, so I decided to actually knit a few rows in waste yarn, and then I will cast on my actual yarn, as it's a bit risky when you start doing things right at the edge. Having a little bit of waste yarn to place your weight and just have a bit of fabric to work with already can help a little bit. So let's see if this one will go better. I would normally not leave these things in a video, but I think I'm going to be a little bit more transparent with how things go when I knit and show you all the mistakes that I make, because I make a lot of mistakes as well, and hopefully you can learn. Well, I'm definitely learning as I do things, so hopefully you can learn as well. I'm very used to sharing everything very polished. In reality, behind the scenes, things go wrong all the time. This is one of those times. Okay, like I said before, I'm going to knit 10 rows. Now that we knitted those 10 rows, I'm going to set my carriage to hold, and I'll begin putting needles on hold on the left side. I will knit the first row, and then I'll put needles in holding position on the opposite side. In total, I'm going to knit 4 rows per section. So I knitted my first one, 1, 2, 3, 4. After I knitted 4 rows, I bring 2 more needles in holding position, making sure to move my weight as well as I go. I will knit the first row. Then I'll bring 2 more needles on the right side. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4. It's here where you have to pay the most attention with the weights, right there where the needles are on hold. We'll bring 2 more needles in holding position. After knitting the first row, we always bring 2 more needles on the opposite side. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more needles on hold, knit the first row. Then I bring the needles on holding position on the opposite side, and then continue like this until I have 4 needles left in the middle in normal working position. I just knitted the last row from left to right, so the fourth row for this section, and you can see that I have 4 of the 2 needle sections left. And now I'm going to knit from right to left, but I'm going to knit on all these needles that are now in holding position. So all I have to do is just to push them into upper working position like so, about halfway. And now I can knit 1 row on this side, so my carriage stays in holding position. Here's where we have to make sure that these needles are completing the stitch properly. So now I'm going to knit from left to right. I can just take my carriage from hold, and I will knit across on all the needles, and these ones will knit as well. And you can see how our edge is growing like that. Okay, I'm going to remove my comb now. I'll make sure to even out my claw weights. The next step is to knit a few rows straight. We don't have to do anything. I'm going to set my carriage back to 0. It's quite difficult to keep track of your rows when you're doing partial knitting, but I'll just set it back to 0 just in case something happens and I get distracted from counting the rows. And I'll knit a total of 70 rows straight. It's time now to split this into 2 halves, as we will work one side at a time. And because we have to increase some stitches on this side here, I have to remove half of it off the machine. So I'm going to just first put on holding position half of the needles, all the way till the left side of number 0. I will grab a waste yarn. I'm making sure to put my carriage in holding position again, and I will knit a few rows of waste yarn only on the right side of the machine. That was about 20 something rows. That should be plenty. And I will remove all these stitches off the machine. And we'll put the needles out of work. We'll feed my yarn back into my yarn feeder, and I will continue working on this side only. I will knit a couple of rows. And now I will again shape using partial knitting or short rows. And again, I want the edge here to be shorter than this, so I'll begin putting needles on hold on the left side, and again I'll be knitting 4 rows. We'll make sure to put my carriage in holding position as well. That was 4 rows, and then every 4 rows I'm going to bring 2 more needles in holding position. Okay, so I continued bringing 2 more needles every 4 rows until I have only 2 sections left. I will knit 2 rows on all needles now, just to even out everything. I'll take my carriage from holding position. Okay, I'm just making sure that all the needles are completing the stitch properly. Sometimes there's needles that are not completing the stitch properly here. I will begin increasing, and I will increase until I have 5 more of these sections. So that is a total of 10 stitches. And to increase, I will transfer the first section and then the second. And then I'll increase 1 stitch on the third section here by transferring first, and then I will grab the purl bar to form a new stitch. So here, instead of having only 2 stitches, now I have 3. I will knit 2 rows. And I'll continue with another increase. I will transfer 1 stitch to the right, the first 2 sections. And then I will increase 1 more stitch on the third section. And you can see that now we have 4 stitches here. We'll knit 2 rows again. And now here all we have to do is just to increase to have, again, 2 needles in work, 2 out of work across. So I'm just transferring here to split these 4 stitches and then to have 2 needles out of work in between. I'm knitting 2 rows in between every single transfer. And here I have an issue, some needles did not complete the stitch properly, so I need to add more weight. And now we increased 1 section already. You can see that we have 1 extra on the right side of number 0. We'll again knit 2 rows. And I'll continue like this the same way until I increase 4 more sections. Yeah, a good idea is to bring the needles all the way out before knitting the first 2 rows, just to avoid having any accidents. And you can see I increased 1 more section. And I'll continue doing that 3 more times. I just finished increasing the 5 sections, and this is the reason why we have to put the other half on waste yarn, because we are increasing here, and if all those stitches would be in work, we wouldn't have the space to increase. So here's where we're increasing. This is how that is going to look. And now we kind of finished half, and we are going over already to the part that goes over the shoulder here at the top. And here we are knitting 20 rows straight. And we are already kind of finished with this half of the front. Whatever we continue now, we are basically already working on the back. We will be decreasing now, again, 5 sections, and we will be decreasing in the same way we increased. I'm going to skip the first second, and I'm going to transfer the third section 1 stitch to the left, and the remaining 2 sections will follow. I will knit 2 rows. Again, transfer beginning with the third section. And we are basically doing exactly what we did when we increased, but in reverse, let's say. I don't know if that's the thing. You can see we have now 4 stitches next to each other. We will knit 2 rows. And here we are decreasing a stitch. Now we have only 3 stitches. And then we are transferring the remaining 2 sections, knit 2 rows, And after this last transfer, we are back to having 2 needles in work, 2 out of work across. And we will continue transferring and decreasing like that until those 5 sections that I increased will be basically gone. Okay, I still have 3 more sections to decrease and then I will continue from there. Here's where we are at right now. You can see how we increased, we knitted a few rows straight and now we decreased again. Right here where we knitted those straight rows, this is the part that will fall right where your shoulder seam would normally fall. So if you want to knit this in a different way, for example, to start from the shoulder and do have the shoulder seam, is here where you start. And now all we have to do for this section is to shape again, just like we did before, to have this edge shorter. I'm going to add some weight. I think this could seem a little complicated, but once you actually try, you will see that it's not that difficult. I will put needles on hold on the left side. We'll make sure to put my carriage in holding position as well. And I will knit 4 rows. And then every 4 rows, I'm going to bring 2 more needles in holding position on the left side. Making sure that I have enough weight. I finished shaping again using partial knitting and I knitted 2 rows on all needles. And basically we finished with one side. The next step is to put this side on waste yarn. And I can remove it off the machine. This is what we created so far. It would go something like this, and this is where we would normally have our shoulder seam. The only thing that bothers me here is this. Can you see how this bulges up a little bit here? I might have to actually figure something out for this, and if we were to continue this panel now, all we would have to do is to place all these stitches back onto the machine and do exactly what we did on this side, but mirrored. So we would have to put needles on hold on the right side so that the edge is shorter. And we will do that every 4 rows. Then we will increase and then we will knit some rows straight. We will decrease all the stitches that we increased, all those 5 sections. And then again, we will shape using partial knitting. Once we finish that, we hook this side as well. So then we would have both sides. And then we continue just with some rows straight, and then we'll shape the bottom edge just like we did on this side. So right now I have this piece of fabric and I'm able to already kind of measure it and see if it would fit me or if I need to do any other adjustments. So I'll show you in a second. I'm going to steam block it just to see how it looks, and then we will take it from there. Looking at this, I think it would fit me, and I wouldn't mind if it's a little bit tight as well, but I think it would fit me just right. Also because the yarn that I'm using is not very different than the one that I used for the dress, so I'm getting kind of almost the same size. The thing that bothers me right now is this bulging that is happening here, and I had the same for the dress, but I fixed that and I'll tell you in a minute how I fixed it. I'm thinking that maybe we should keep the back part straight here and only shape the front. The funny thing is that this only happens, this bulging only happens when we are casting on and we're knitting that way. When we get to the other side, this doesn't happen because the holes come at the edge. I don't know how to explain it. Am I making any sense right now? Let me show you what I mean, because I feel like I'm not making any sense. So you can see here how we shape this, we cast on, and then we begin shaping. The holes go something like that, okay? And we get this bulging right here. So basically this was the back for my dress, and this happened, exact same thing happened. So what I did was I latched all these stitches all the way to where these holes are. So I latched this ladder to kind of reduce that. I still have the shape, but it's a bit shorter. In the front panel, you can see that the holes are right here at the edge. This panel was knitted in the exact same way as this blue panel is knitted. I started here, I cast on, I knitted straight, then I split it into two, I continued, and then here's where I cast off. This is the edge I cast off. And we don't have the same problem on this side. I don't know if this makes sense, and it's funny that this happens and I have no explanation to why this is happening. So if you know, please tell us so we can understand it as well.